Panther people, what up? I watched the Carolina Panthers feature Blueprint, and I'll tell you what, the real superstar isn't Bryce Young. What's going on? You watch Panthers, supposed to Phil Perkins. Thanks for joining us. Tis the offseason. That means the hopium is getting smoked hot and heavy right now. The Carolina Panthers knowingly putting out the Blueprint, which is basically the announcement of, finding the new head coach, Dave Canales, obviously getting the new general manager, not really new general manager, and Dan Morgan. But we got to be sure, when we watch this, we know its purpose. It's propaganda. That's what it's about. It's to get us hype. Now, are they self-aware enough that we know that we got hype last year with Frank Reich and company, that we thought, oh, how could you lose? You got the number one overall pick. You got a star-studded coaching staff that everyone talked about. And then you got the Blueprint on top of that. Of course, you're going to be smoking the hopium double time. You're going to be double fisting hopium like crazy. So this time around, I wonder if they're self-aware enough to know, and I think they were, that yes, this is propaganda, but they're also self-reflecting on what happened last year, what happened and what went wrong, and how they're going to get better. And I think, if anything, this episode specifically showed us that I'm not saying it's a college team, but it feels like it's a team that needed this youthful injection of naivety. I don't think anyone here comes with an ego. I'm sure if you gave truth serum to Dave Canales and Dan Morgan, especially Dan Morgan, they'll tell you they're very confident in themselves. But I think we needed a crew, especially in the head coach position, that doesn't come with any baggage and doesn't come with, honestly, a lot of experience, to say the least. They're coming in like literally every time I see Dave Canales, I think of like a golden retriever. I think that's what he is. He's a younger Pete Carroll, so he's just like a younger golden retriever, and he's out and about, and he is always smoking the hopium, always. Whether things are bad or whether things are good, he is in a great mood. And I think this franchise needs that, because Frank Reich was just such a downer all the time, all the time. Him showing happiness was awkward to see. But you got a guy, Dave Canales, who, mind you, if the Carolina Panthers lose 8 straight, that I'm probably want to hit his face if he says anything about being optimistic and just loving football, loving where our feet are at and stuff like that. I'd get mad. But I think at this moment in time, at the crossroads of this franchise's history, they need this kind of youthful energy to give people some hope, to give people some, to give them the energy, to get that via osmosis. And I think there's just been so many bad vibes around this team, unfortunately, since I started this channel, that I think we need someone who is an eternal optimist, that we at least feel like even during a loss, there are some things that we can glean that we think we're building on right now. But despite all that, I don't, even though the episode really did focus on Dave Canales, his family, him getting hired, I think the real star was Dan Morgan. Maybe that's the way I saw it. The way they started off with him up at 4:30 in the morning, I guarantee you, they didn't show it. Guarantee you he did a cold plunge. He had that red light. He did all that, Fitfluencer stuff. Getting the Peloton in, working out. I'd love to see what that guy is like, deadlifting or cleaning at this moment. But he was the star. He represents, to me, is the grown Carolina Panthers fan who grew up with Jake Delhomme, who grew up with Cam Newton, that he's been around long enough that he remembers. He literally played in those glory days. He knows it. And this is his story. It is him trying to bring back the franchise that gave him the current life that he has right now. And this is at least this episode showed this was his journey. And this team, and the end of the episode like this, he is building this team in his image. Tough-nosed, working hard, maybe not the most athletic guy, but he worked hard, hit hard, most tackles in a Super Bowl ever, determined, up at 4:30 in the morning, putting the work in, stuff like that. And this is almost like a love letter to the Panthers via Dan Morgan and his crazy blue eyes. And I think someone told him to blink more, because he was blinking a lot more in this. I think he saw what was happening to the team and he was sick of it. And I think he wants to bring it back to like old school, late 90s, early 2000s. I'm surprised he didn't draft a linebacker that has a neck roll, even though we did draft a couple linebackers that are seemingly undersized. Maybe he's building that in his own image, potentially. But I thought he was a star. It was him making the moves, him picking Dave Canales for a reason. Because he talked about how they're the family. They don't see their families as much. So this is the family. And I think they talk about, again, this is propaganda here, always talking about the alignment. And I think it really is there. And I think Dan Morgan's serious. Like when he was initially hired and given the full-time role as a general manager after jettisoning Scott Fitterer, in my head, initially I thought, okay, that's a lazy hire. He's in the building. Why not? No one else wants to work as a GM. But guess what? Maybe they don't. But now you got a guy who actually cares about the franchise, literally cares about the colors, cares about the logo, cares about the area. He does. He actually cares. This is not a stepping stone for him. I don't think he would want to be here and then try to transition that to a job with the Cowboys. And you don't have to look that far away to see how good that is for a team. Look at Rob Brindamore with the Carolina Hurricanes. He is arguably, depending on who you ask, the best coach in the National Hockey League. He has brought, since he was a former player, won a Stanley Cup with the Carolina Hurricanes, and then got given the head coaching job. And on the surface, you think, oh my God, a former player? Like being a head coach right now? Like it was literally like, it was like that. It was quick. And in the 6th season that he's been the head coach of the Carolina Hurricanes, they have made the playoffs every single time. Every single time. They have got as close to the Eastern Conference Finals. Now, mind you, their late season, postseason efforts, not efforts, but results aren't as great. This one was better against the Rangers. But this is a guy who's arguably the best coach in the National Hockey League. Didn't start that way, but now he is regarded as one of the best coaches. Even in Toronto, there are people in Toronto who wanted him to be the head coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs. But in his mind, he never wants to leave Raleigh. Ever. Ever. Doesn't matter what kind of money. The teams like Vegas, Seattle, he has ties to Seattle, the Toronto Maple Leafs, they have boatloads of money, way more money than the Carolina Hurricanes that they can give and make him one of the highest paid coaches in the NHL. He doesn't want it. He wants to stay in Raleigh because it means so much to him. The community means that much to him. He wants a Stanley Cup there. He likes the lifestyle. He likes the people, likes the team, everything. The way like the Carolina Hurricanes are seen as a small market team. Carolina Panthers are seen compared to some others, maybe not Green Bay, as a smaller, medium market team. It doesn't have the same media attention as the New York and Philadelphia and the Dallas and the Houston. But Dan Morgan is kind of like the Rob Brindamore of the Carolina Panthers. He didn't win a Super Bowl. He got to one. And he wants to bring back the glory days. He has unbridled affection and dedication, not just to the team, but to the community. Like he grew up here now. And he adopted this place the same way they adopted him when he was a linebacker with the team. And so I think he is going to be the Panthers, not Dave Canales. Dave Canales will eventually be, but Dan Morgan, I think, has a rooted interest and a personal connection with the team, with the community. And I think this really is the same way as Rob Brindamore. Rob Brindamore is not going to stop until he gets a Stanley Cup to Raleigh. I don't think Dan Morgan's going to stop until there's a Super Bowl trophy at Bank of America Stadium. I truly believe that. And we'll see what happens this year. We haven't gotten to the point where they talk about the draft. They talk about, we're not at training camp right now, obviously, but we don't really know where Bryce Young is at in the system. But it'd be interesting to see once we get there how Bryce is doing. I think he's going to be great. I think Dave Canales believes in him. But at the same time, like 5% of me feels that if it's not working out with Bryce, Dave Canales didn't draft him. Dan Morgan didn't draft him. I think we could see change. Maybe not after this year, but I don't know. There's just something about it that I think because he's so relentless, and I'm talking about Dan Morgan, again, back to him, just how intense he is and how intensely he wants the team to be good again. I can see them making changes to make things happen. Would we like it? I don't know, because I do believe in Bryce. I believe getting Bryce a guy like Deontay Johnson and Xavier Leggett. And then, man, I know, again, it's propaganda. They got to do this stuff. But I saw a lot of footage of Jonathan Mingo and Terrace Marshall. And I don't know if it's maybe they might, obviously they're good dudes. They're not bad people. They want them to succeed. We want them to succeed. But if they can somehow get better, that'd be great. They haven't included the rookies yet. I'm sure they're going to have a whole draft episode and bringing in guys like Xavier, Jonathan Brooks, Jatavion. I think those guys will be massive additions to the team. But yeah, that was the first. That's my recap in the first episode. We already know the Dave Canales story and all that stuff. He's very camera friendly. He's everywhere. He's a great talker. But Dan Morgan, I think he was a star. I think he is the one. If Dave Canales doesn't work out, I think Dan Morgan will still be around. But I think this is his story. This is his team. He was the MVP of that episode. Now it's just a matter of time if he's going to be MVP after this regular season. So let me know what you guys thought about episode 1 of The Blueprint. Learn anything you didn't already know about Dave Canales and Dan Morgan, about Bryce, about Dave Tepper? He showed up like once. He didn't really say anything, which is good. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Like, subscribe, spread the word. See you guys soon.